We are now joined live by Eric Draitser, geopolitical analyst for StopImperialism.com. Good to have you with us here on our team.
Thank you.
A ground invasion by Israel is a strong possibility, and reservists have been called up. Can Israel really achieve its stated desire of peace? Through this type of military action?
Well, that would be determined on whether or not Israel actually seeks peace, and I think the obvious answer to that is no. Israel benefits more than any other player in the region from the continuation of this conflict, and not simply just the conflict with the Palestinians. Israel is also very much part and parcel of the United States and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and this entire axis with regard to Syria. So I think it's a mistake to see this particular episode in a vacuum. Rather, it's part of a larger context, and Syria is a very key part of all of that.
An Israeli Defense Forces spokesperson has told us that there's no need to justify their actions. Those actions include the deaths of several children. Do you think it's justified?
I don't even know if I should really even bother answering the question. Of course it's not justified. The reality is the rocket attacks what they call these rocket attacks are not causing any real harm to the Israeli people, regardless of what Ms. Leibovich may say. The reality is that these are minimal at best. Instead, the disproportionate response. This is the same old story with Israel over and over and over again. Remember, the most important point that people seem to forget is that Israel has what's called a monopoly of force over Gaza, and yet Israel is able to position itself within the public media as if they're constantly the victim, constantly on the defensive. Well, this flies in the face of reality, of rationality and logic. The fact of the matter is Israel is aggressing against the people of Gaza, and as I mentioned earlier, it is part of a larger context, and that is why the United States is able to back Israel time and time again.
Now, the timing of this couldn't be worse with, so many conflicts going around Syria and elsewhere. What do you think the consequences could be for the region?
Well, I would say that it's not that the timing couldn't be worse. I would say that the timing couldn't be better with regard to the Western imperialist ruling class. If you look at the Brookings Institution paper entitled Assessing Options for Regime Change in Syria, what you see is that Israel is an integral part of the plan to destabilize and to destroy Syria. Israel launching this attack on Gaza is clearly going to magnetize the region and attract various other extremists there so that they can then be turned around and sent over to Syria. The Free Syrian Army and the various other extremists, they're running out of manpower. Israel comes to the rescue, creates a situation that galvanizes the people, polarizes the region, and perpetuates the conflict. Remember, it is the United States, Israel, and the Western powers which benefit from continued conflict.
Eric Draitser, wish we had more time with you. Geopolitical analyst for StopImperialism.com. Thank you.
Thank you.